This is First and 15th. We talk about inspiration, motivation, life-changing moments, and conquering fears. Twice a month, we have amazing guests popping through. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. You all set?
Yes.
Let's go. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to First and 15th. I'm your host, Karal, and we are joined today by a special guest, Kemi. So I'm going to have her tell you who she is and what she does, and we're going to jump right into our questions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kemi Itayemi. I'm an author, a speaker, and a coach. Been on this path for a while, but finally the book got done in July, and it's out on Amazon. We're just taking life right from there.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
You've talked about a book real quick. So what is your book called, Kemi?
The book is called From Wounds to Wholeness.
So as you see, it has a picture of a panther, which shows prowess, strength, and courage. And so today we're talking about overcoming childhood trauma and also how that has an impact on us as adults. So whether it's through our friendships, relationships, marriages, or even maybe just working with someone in the office.
Absolutely.
So I am definitely looking forward to this conversation, but I want to just let y'all know how we met. So it is September 1st, 2023, and I met Kemi through a coaching and training program in January of this year. And so we met virtually because I was looking for a partner to just be accountable with. And so the person I had, she got, I guess, cold feet. And I was thinking, you can't get cold feet. We already paid for the program.
Yes,
So Kemi reached out, and by chance, she's right in my area in the DMV, right? I'm in Virginia. So I'm in Maryland. You're in Virginia, but it's not far at all. We've talked about the name of your book again, which is called From Wounds to Wholeness. But can you just tell us a little bit about your experience coming to the U.S. from Nigeria?
Okay, so I had no plans of coming to the US.
Okay.
Because I actually grew up in Nigeria, went to elementary school, high school, went to college, graduated, and actually got a job, and life was just progressing on. And while there's something called a youth service program in Nigeria where you graduate from school and then you have to serve the country for like a year.
Okay.
They pay you, like stipends. You really get much,
a little bit, just for something.
Just something. So I actually met this friend. I'm going to cut the story very short. We met at camp. We became friends, and he didn't really get a job. He couldn't really get a job in this area of expertise, but we became like brother and sister. And to cut a long story short, he was the one that actually told me about something called the green card lottery.
Okay.
And he was going to do it for himself. But then he said, Kemi, you know what? I can also do yours.
Okay, because like a friendly favor kind of thing.
Yes, so I could care less what he did. But again, there's a chapter in my book that talks about allowing the divine take over things for you. And this was one of the areas, or one of the things that happened that made me believe that there's a higher being moving things around on our behalf. Because Jude, actually, that's my friend's name, put in for both of us, but he didn't win the green card lottery. I won the green card lottery.
So that is amazing that you have this friend who was actually doing this for himself, but then thought you enough to do it for you and him. And then by chance, divine intervention or what have you, you got selected and not him.
Yes.
So then how did you both feel about you being chosen in the lottery for the green card and not him?
Well, because what happens is it's randomly selected by the computer. So it's not anything that anyone has any control over.
Right, true. Yeah. It's really a pick number, name. Yeah, you're in. You're not.
Exactly. And the other part of it is he actually came because he used to come to me when he needed money.
Okay.
So he came to ask for money
Okay.
to buy stamps.
Okay.
And that was when I asked him, what are you buying stamps for? And he said, you know what, Kemi, if you just double that amount, then I can do yours. So really, I could care less if he did it or not.
Yeah, it's like you
So
were not
I
interested
wasn't,
in that.
I didn't even know what it was. But because I was, as usual, just did what I did with him. Normally, I just gave him the money. He just felt compelled. He said, okay, you know what? I'll do it for both of us. So he knew that it wasn't anything biased, but he, he felt very good.
Okay,
To be honest, he was disappointed that he didn't get selected because he really wanted to come to the US. But he felt good that he was able to do something for me in return, because he felt like, okay, I was the one always taking care of him. But he was so happy. And I was just dating my boyfriend then. So the thing with the green card lottery is it allows you bring your immediate family with you.
Okay.
So I was dating my children's father at that time, and then we actually got married, and then we came over to the States together.
Okay. Yeah. So where did you actually come as your first region in the US?
Okay, so what happened was when you actually win the green card lottery, the US actually expects you to have a sponsor. So our sponsor was in Maryland. Okay. And that was our first port of call. Okay. So Maryland was
right
where we
because
came.
because that is where your sponsor was.
Yeah.
That is an amazing testament of just friendship and how your friend was so selfless to not think of only him but of you as well, just to thank you for the ways that you have helped him in his life in the past. You arrived in Maryland at the age of 24 with your husband and your children. So how was that change for your whole family? Because again, you were not seeking to come to the U.S. It was your friend Jude who was doing it for you as a favor and see what happens. So then how did your family even handle you coming from Nigeria to a whole other country?
Well, so my then boyfriend, who happened to be my husband, because we got married and we came into the US. I came in pregnant with my daughter.
Okay.
So it was just the three of us. So it was him, myself, and the pregnant child. Because
the baby to come.
Yes, we came into the country in June, and I had my daughter in October of the same year. So so it was, I was 24, married. I was ready to really have, and again, we'll go back when you go back to the book and you read how I grew up as a child. I really wanted my own, my unique family, so to speak, that would love me and accept me and not judge me. So I was ready for that. And so when this opportunity came up, I ran with it.
Okay, so there was no hesitation.
There was no hesitation at all. I was ready to go.
That is really great.
Yes.
Because I have lived in the DC area, well, really in Maryland, my entire life. I work in DC, so I don't ever plan on moving from this area due to my job. But I just I know that takes courage and bravery to move from a different state, but then a whole other country, and it wasn't even planned. So that definitely is courageous. You have more courage than me. I'm kind of wimpy sometimes. You touch on your experiences as a child a little bit, but in me reading your book, I was just really amazed at some of the experiences that you had to endure as a child. With your childhood experiences, one of them that really stands out for me in reading your book is being born left-handed. And so I was literally in tears in some part of your book, just seeing and reading, just envisioning, because I'm a very visual learner, just envisioning what you had to go through in your country, well, in your home country, just because you were born left-handed. So give us some background on how that is perceived in Nigeria, being left-handed, and then also the experiences that you had to endure?
So, in Nigeria, being left-handed is considered a taboo. And like I said earlier, in some Muslim countries as well, um, if you come into the world using the left hand, they actually beat, spank, tie the hand to make sure that you try to reverse it to using the right hand as opposed to the left hand. My father was left-handed, and out of all my siblings, I was the only one that was left-handed as well, just like my dad. So there was a whole lot of the essence is because they consider it a taboo. It's not a worthy hand. You can't shake people with the left hand. You can't give, especially adults, things with the left hand.
Yeah, I was reading that you had you were at a store.
Yes.
And then the cashier did not want to even take your money because you were using your left hand. That is something that here in the U.S. I would have never thought would be something to think about. Is it your left hand, your right hand? Is it opposite of the person? Is it the same hand? There you go. It's in your hand.
Yeah. It's considered very disrespectful to use the left hand. And that was the other reason, because I read a lot. That was also one of the reasons that when the opportunity to come to the US came up, I ran with it because I had read that at least 40 to 50, not 50%, I want to say maybe 40 or 45% of US citizens are actually left-handed people. So no one is actually looking here
if it's left
or right.
Our mom's a lefty, so and so she can definitely relate to some things like being maybe challenging, like your desk kind of in school, but in terms of being out in society or even in your home, she probably did not experience anything. But I should ask her one day, if you experience anything, because she is one of 8 siblings, and she's the only one I know who was left-handed. Her mom or dad siblings were right-handed, but I never even asked her, like, how was your experience? So I'm gonna ask her that, Kemi.
Yes, you should. But I've spoken with some people, especially people who were born like in the 40s or the 30s. I want to say close to the 50s as well in the US. And they had similar experiences because they wanted to switch the hands to make sure that they were.
Yeah, I would definitely have to ask her about that because she was born in the 50s. She just turned 70 last month. And so I would definitely have to ask her, did you have any challenges like growing up being the only one in the house who was left-handed?
Yes.
That know about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So with you being left-handed, what kind of trauma did that cause you? Because your book talks about trauma. I want to get to some of the root, and that way we can see how that has had an impact on you as an adult, and how it also led you to writing again this book, From Wounds to Wholeness.
Oh, okay. So as a child, you tend to internalize everything. It's not even internalizing, it's like you're like a sponge soaking up everything. So for me, because everywhere I went, it was frowned upon if I tried to give somebody something, if I tried to take something, if I tried to pick something.
And it's a natural reflex because you're left-handed.
Exactly.
It's just innate to you to even do that.
Yeah. So for me, the message that was passed across as a child was, you're not worthy. Something is wrong with you. You shouldn't be loved because you're constantly bringing this negative energy to wherever you go, because so you're looked down on and all these things were happening at different times,
but it was everywhere.
Even in schools, the teachers would do all they can. They used to they'll put like a rag over left hand
Okay.
and put like a rope over
Mhm.
around it to make sure that you don't even try to use the
Right,
left
because your
hand.
hand is bound. You can't hold
Yes,
anything. You can't
yes,
hold a pencil. You can't grab anything because
yes,
your hand has
yes.
something, as a barrier.
So the message that was signaled is something is wrong with you. You're deformed, kind of. So you see, with all that, um, I just kept so growing up, I just kept trying to find ways to please people
Right.
so they would love me and not think or will try to forget the fact that I'm left-handed and just accept me for who I am.
Wow.
Yes.
That has to be something that it will that obviously caused you a great deal of trauma as
Yes.
a young child,
Yes.
as a teen, and also bringing that to you as an adult.
Adult. Yeah.
Now, I never want to have my guests be offended. So, with your strong culture in Nigeria, it would have been appropriate for you to say mom or sister or brother or so and so. You really have offended me. So not at the time, but like now, because no, you're an adult.
Yeah.
Is that even appropriate to even bring up past hurt with your family?
Well, definitely yes.
Okay.
Now,
Okay, now that you're an adult.
yes, now that I'm an adult, we've talked about it.
Okay.
And you see, the other thing is they did what they knew was right because that was what was passed on from generation to
Okay.
generation.
Okay.
And that's all they knew.
Mhm.
So they weren't doing it out of spite. They just wanted to have a child that conformed
Okay.
with the society. And so they did what they saw there. My mom did what she saw her mom did.
Okay.
My grandma did what she saw her own grandma do. So it was just, they didn't know any better.
Okay.
But so we've talked about that in so many other ways, like over the
Yeah,
years.
definitely. As
Yeah.
time goes on.
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
yes. Because you also want healing and you want
Mhm.
closure to it. So, and for all that to happen, forgiveness is huge.
Yes.
Yes.
Healing in various ways
Ways.
is so important. And so, with your father being a left-handed person, was there anyone on your mom's side who was left-handed?
No, it was my dad's side.
Okay.
It was everyone on my mom's side. We didn't have anyone who was left-handed.
Okay.
But yeah, it was just my dad's side.
What kind of support did you get from your father, knowing that he had that experience? Did he give you any kind of support, just to help to kind of deal with that?
So my dad was my biggest advocate. Um, he made sure. So what happened was because he knew that if he left me home, I would get the backlash
Right.
of no, you can't use the left hand. And he always mentioned whenever he came home and somebody was trying to change the fact that I was using my left hand to using the right hand, he would tell them, can you please just let that child be?
Yeah.
I do not want my daughter going through what I went through. So just let her be. So I used to take so many trips with my dad because he used to make sure that whenever he's leaving the house, he's taking me with him
that way.
just so I'm safe, from anyone who was trying to change my left hand to the right hand. So we were very close, and he was my biggest protector.
I love that.
Yes,
Since that he didn't want anything to happen. So now that you are an adult and you have been able to process some of the trauma, what are some of the ways that you have been able to find healing from your trauma?
So I always tell people, I think we all need counseling, coaching, therapy at some point.
Yeah.
My advice to any adult, because you want to unpack all that that has happened, even if you're not even sure of what it is.
Right. There's something
there's
there
all-
that
because-
you can dig back deeper to
Yes,
with the help of a therapist, a counselor,
Exactly.
a friend, or
And so that
maybe a
was
book.
that was actually where that was my starting point.
Okay.
And that was what led me down this journey of self-discovery.
Okay.
Because I now realized that because there were parts of me that I was locking away or had locked away, and I didn't want to even visit that part of me.
Okay.
But it was those locked away parts that were actually running my life. So therapy, counseling was the beginning of the self-discovery and just bringing back that part of me that I didn't want to own.
And you're right about that, because like when you lock away memories, experiences, scenarios, we as humans just tend to just not even want to always deal with it. And so childhood trauma, I know firsthand, has a huge impact on us as an adult. It can also affect how we are with our dating partner, our spouse, our children, coworkers, etc. And so for me, I really had to have an awakening that I think three. So it probably started in 2021, but I was hiding and I was running. I was like, oh no, I don't want to address. I don't want to really deal with it, because I knew what it was.
Yes.
But I knew that if I began to actually talk about it, number one, I will be sad, and I don't want to be sad. I mean, being sad is normal, but I don't want to. I didn't want to do anything purposely to
make
cause,
you sad.
cause myself to be sad.
Oh yeah.
So I took those feelings that I knew what they were, knew how they were caused, knew the root. I did talk about them with my family like years ago in my 20s, but I had addressed it with them in maybe almost 15, 16 years. And so last year, maybe almost 10 months ago, I had an awakening. And so I'm not quite sure what clicked, but something happened to me. I'm probably not just one thing, but just the pattern of hiding from my feelings and knowing that I need to address them just to become a more complete person. And so that really gave me the courage to care about others' feelings. But let me phrase that, because it sounds bad. Okay. So that gave me the courage to tell others who had either maybe offended me or wronged me. It could have been years ago, to just tell them that how I felt by your action so and so many years ago has had an impact on me now. And so I don't want to offend you, so and so person, but it's important that you know how this has had an impact on me.
Yes.
So I haven't fully conquered that whole thing of just tell everyone, and not everyone, but like those who really, really are close to me, so like my parents, my siblings, that kind of thing. But I just really but I really do understand firsthand the way that the way that you were raised has a negative impact.
It could have
on you. And so, do you mind sharing a little bit about some of the ways that you have gotten through? So you're talking about counseling and therapy, but do you have a certain experience that you can share with us that can show folks, yes, I went through this, I overcame it, you can too.
Yeah. So one of the biggest experience, if you read the book.
Read the book, y'all. It's amazing. It's very touching.
It's understanding the fact that after my first marriage, I got into the second one. And I knew, because I was seeing similar patterns. And so the first thing was to get into therapy and counseling. But also, I had to understand that I was the common denominator. I had to come to terms with the fact that if anything needed to change in my life, it started with me. It's hard sometimes, because you're like, but I'm a good person. So why are these bad things happening to me? But I had to accept the fact that I'm not too sure what the issue is,
Mhm.
but I'm willing
Right, to explore.
to explore.
Yeah.
You have to be open, you have to be willing, you have to be accepting of the fact that it is what it is,
Mhm.
but I'm willing to go the long haul because I want that wholeness in me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I love that
Yes.
because again, it takes strength and courage to
Yes.
even acknowledge those things that you could be a good person, but everyone has some kind of experience that can lead them to how they are in the present. So in your book, you talk about self-worth, validation, loving yourself, and detachment. So can you expand on some of those key points and how those have helped you to get to where you are?
So, like I said, once you begin to find yourself, which is what the self-discovery journey
Mm-hmm.
is, you begin to understand that you are not the left hand. You are not, um, if you're blind, you're not the
Right.
eyes that is blind, you're not the ears that is
Right.
deaf. You're the spirit that is complete.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a reason and purpose for your life here. And your self-awareness journey takes you through all that
Mm-hmm.
in transforming, validating who you are, who you truly are. And you begin to see that you have self-worth.
Yes.
You're way more than what anyone is thinking about you.
Mm-hmm.
And for the journey, I can't tell you it's going to take you 2 years. I can't tell you it's going to take you 10 years.
Right, because everyone's different.
Everybody's different. But however long it takes, because I say I'm a student, I'm a life student. I'm always learning. You will continue to grow. And when those things start to happen for you, they will reflect in your life because you're now changed from who you used to be. Your self-esteem is no longer where it used to be. You're no longer a doormat for people to just walk all over.
Right.
because you want them to accept you. Now you understand that, okay, you know what? I'm left-handed, so what?
Yep. And so you're gonna love me with my left hand.
Exactly.
And if you don't, then keep on going.
Keep it moving. So with all that, you begin to validate yourself. Again, I always say to people, you can't give what you don't have. When that starts to happen for you, there's a deep transformation going through you. You come out of the other end as somebody totally different.
Yeah.
And all this stuff will now come together for the new you 2.0.
Yes. Yes, the new you.
Yes, the new you.
Okay. So I know that this book is written from from the point of view of you as a woman, because clearly you're a woman. But how can your experiences and your lessons in your book apply to men?
So we're all individuals, man, woman, it doesn't really matter. We all have childhoods because we're all born and we all go through some type of childhood experience. And so just as it affects women, it affects men. It knows no gender.
Right.
It knows no gender. So man or woman, you still have to walk through those childhood experiences, unpack the knapsack, take out what needs to be taken out, put in what needs to be put in, and then keep on moving with life.
Now, I just start smiling just now because you mentioned knapsacks. In reading your book, I realized that you have a unique way of using analogies. So you just mentioned the knapsack, and then also in your book, you mentioned the knapsack as well. So then, why was that analogy so key to give to your readers?
That was key because on my journey of self-awareness, I realized, and the knapsack analogy came from my pastor, the church I used to go to in Gaithersburg.
Okay.
And he used to say, just imagine every human being has an invisible knapsack on their back. And what we do is going through life, We pick things up,
Right.
good, bad, ugly, and we fill them.
Mhm.
We put all those things that we pick up along the way in our knapsacks, and we keep carrying them and along as we go through life.
Just pick up something, put it in there.
Yeah.
Trauma
experiences,
throw it in the bag.
it's all in the bag. And he said the ability to be able to sit down, take out the knapsack and go through the knapsack. In other words, you're going to take out the things that don't serve you anymore.
Okay.
The trauma that used to be there, you don't need to carry it around anymore. The experiences that are negative, that it's time to let go.
Right.
He said, but it's not every human being that has the ability or the willingness.
Yes, willingness.
The willingness to sit down for a minute, take that knapsack off and try to take out all those things. And then the new experiences you now have, the joy you have, the people you've met, you want to fill your knapsack with that. He says some people go through life to their graves without ever having to put that knapsack down and go through it. Some people have maggots crawling all over because they have all kinds of experiences that needed to have been done away with, but they keep going. They keep going. So the ability to sit down and do a self-evaluation and go through this self-awareness journey, it's huge.
Yes, it's
huge.
Life-changing.
It is, and it's life-changing, yes.
It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman,
no,
young, old, in between, if you're in the US or not.
Yes.
These kind of moments and experiences can definitely change your life from negative to positive if you are willing to take if you are willing to take the time to just put things on pause a little bit and just think about it. Like, you may cry, you may get angry, but like you were I'm saying earlier, this can lead to you feeling and being whole.
Yes, absolutely.
And don't we all want to be whole?
Yes, we do.
I think we all should, but but for various reasons, people do not take the time. Either maybe they're afraid of the emotions, or don't want to bring up the past trauma with the people that caused it. Yeah, so I definitely understand and respect why some people choose not to, but I know firsthand it does have positive outcomes.
I'm very excited about this journey. I look forward to connecting with people that also need this help. You don't just gather experience in life just to sit on it.
Right.
It's to be able to help other people who are going through or who don't even know that.
Exactly. Who don't even know that they need.
Yes. So that's my biggest joy.
What are the two biggest messages that you want to give to the readers, the audience, the future readers of your book?
All right. First of all, my first message is embrace your unfinished past. You have to embrace your unfinished past. And I leave it as unfinished. I tag it as unfinished because people will be like, unfinished past. Because for the simple fact that it's in the past does not mean it's done.
Okay. Help me out, Kemi.
Exactly. So it's the past. But if it still has an influence on you as an adult, then it's unfinished.
Right. Okay. Like,
so
closure.
You have to be able to put a closure to all that happened in the past. That's the first thing.
Okay.
My second takeaway will be, it's never too late to do it.
Okay.
You're never too old to do it. Because some people will be like, oh, what, I'm 60 now, I'm 80. No. Whenever you decide to go on a self-awareness journey is when your journey begins.
I love that.
Yes. It's when your journey begins.
You are not too old.
You are not
and
too
you
old.
have to address your past. The topic of trauma and one's past can be really hard for some people. So we definitely are encouraging you all, if you need to seek a therapist, a counselor, a trusted friend, that there is nothing wrong at all with seeking help from someone else who can bring out those experiences. Now, which leads me to you and what you have going on. Is there anything else that you want to share before we talk about how people can contact you as a coach, a speaker, and an author that also had her book launch and her book signing last month?
Yes.
And I got my book signed by Kemi. So you have talked about various topics in your book, which are closure, addressing your past,
Yes.
forgiveness,
Yes.
validation, detachment, self-worth.
Yes.
Now, on what other topics do you want to also share about your book?
Well, the one more topic I would like to share is actually allowing the divine take control. Just get out of the driver's seat and let the divine help you drive this car along life. Don't try to do it yourself. It's a lot to handle if you're trying to do it by yourself. So, from my experience, just allowing the divine take control has freed me.
Okay.
And giving me, so it brings me joy, just knowing that I don't have to figure it all out myself. I have the divine to do that for me.
I love that,
Yes.
Kemi. It
Yes.
definitely takes more than just oneself to lead and live a life of just peace,
Yes.
wholeness,
Yeah.
forgiveness.
Yes.
And so, like with me, it took my youngest daughter being brought to death and then being brought back to life. And so eventually I will talk about it in a more public kind of way, because I'm going to start crying right now.
Aw.
But that was in 2013.
Wow.
And so you met her this morning.
Yes.
The youngest
Yes.
one. So
Yes.
so with her, she really gave me a sense of well-being and peace. And so with her birth, she was born 8 weeks early, and they thought that she was initially a stillbirth.
Wow.
And so when they were doing the C-section, I didn't know this at the time because I've been panicking, of course. But I learned this later the next month. But when they were delivering her, the doctors were delivering, they thought, a stillborn baby. They had no idea that this little person who you met was actually going to be revived. And so honestly, by the grace and favor of God, there was a nurse who was assigned to me because I was on bed rest at the hospital. I had no pain, no contraction. I had nothing to even physically warrant me. I had a reason to be there, of course, but
Yes.
but me as the patient and as the mom, I had no physical reason, in my opinion, because I had no contraction, no pain, nothing that would signal. Now my mucus plug came out, which I knew was early, but still, even with that, there was nothing. So I went to the hospital. I said, "My doctor, my mucus plug came out, and I know it's early, but I'm not in pain, so what should I do?" So it's to the hospital. But then fast forward to when she was actually born, the nurse was doing her nightly rounds, and so I was on this monitor for 1 hour every morning, and then 1 hour every night. It was each morning at 10 a.m. each night at 10 p.m. Just for 1 hour. That way they can just make sure that she's breathing, all that kind of stuff. And so on, I think it was day number 10 of bed rest, because I was irritated. I gained no pain at all. I was mad. I was not a nice patient to the staff. I do acknowledge I was not the worst patient, but
Yeah.
I was not very friendly because I just did
Yes.
not want to be there.
Yes.
But to the grace of God, the divine, and then time was back to healing. The nurse, Gloria Fosu, who I did meet, we all had a reunion with my
Yes.
children and her
Wow.
last year, and my husband as well. But then going back to that, she was doing her rounds and she was taking too long. So I was getting mad and I was paging the little buzzer, but she wouldn't come. And so if she would have done her 1 hour as was the standard,
Yes.
my daughter actually would not be here because there was no pain, no contraction, no nothing. And so she had stopped breathing. I would not have known that until the next morning at 10 a.m. when it was time for the morning check. And then that would have been, of course,
Too
11
late.
hours too late. And so that experience just resonated with me when you were talking about the divine, about
Yes.
being whole, because
Yes.
that just gave me a sense of peace. I went from someone who was bitter, who was angry, who would hold grudges, who would berate people, men and women. And I was always a caring person, but I just had, it was my childhood trauma, which I still need to fully address,
Yes.
but I have
Yeah.
not fully conquered that. But I realized in 2013, 2014, in my postpartum depression,
Yes.
that my experiences as a child
Yes.
were not the only reason why, because I had a choice to be that way or not be that way.
Yes.
But if that helped me to see that I need to address my trauma. Now I
Yes.
was still running from it from 2013
I
until
know.
many years away.
Yes.
But just having that experience that will really wake you up,
Oh,
slap you in
yes.
the face,
Yes.
jolt you from the
Yes.
divine,
Yes.
it would definitely give you a sense of peace. And
Yes.
so I definitely encourage everyone,
Yes.
if you have had an experience
Yes.
that maybe you, if you pause, because I'm going to cut some of this out.
Yeah.
Not all of it, because I do want to just show emotion.
I wanted,
Yeah.
I want this. That's why I was going to say, Eric, I should get you tissue, but
They're upstairs.
I wanted the authentic, the raw.
In the bathroom, I guess.
Yeah, can you get a tissue from the bathroom, please?
Yeah, first
There's a bathroom right there.
I'm on the right, because I have tissues upstairs, but they're in the room.
That's fine. But I just want, because people, this is what people want to see. It's not made up. It's not
at all.
It's it's just the honest truth. And that's why I say it's an experience. You have to go through it to be able to understand it.
Yes.
It's not something somebody can come and sell to you.
That experience really changed my life in 2013. So I personally know that I still need to address my trauma with a therapist. I acknowledge that,
Or a coach.
I've acknowledged that out loud. Well, let me go back. I acknowledged that in my head several years ago, probably over a decade ago, but I acknowledged it out loud last year. And it's a new year and I have not gotten to the point of actually contacting someone for coaching or therapy, but I do know that I do need to address those traumas. And so then time that experience back that changed my life, I definitely want to thank you, for talking about wholeness and about one of your takeaways of closure, because that had me thinking, wait a minute, I really do need to get closure on some of these incidents and scenarios and experiences, which then led me to how I used to be, that bitter person. I mean, I've always been someone who was caring and loving, but I had a really, really mean side that I was not afraid to show. So I will say I definitely have grown since 2013. Now I'm not going to be a doormat. That won't happen ever. So I am better at expressing my displeasure, and I can do it in a more direct way opposed to sugarcoating and say, oh, I don't know, because I will be direct, which people may take as mean, but for me, that is growth in
Yes.
knowing that I am number one saying no, because in your book you talk about the ability and the power of saying
No.
no.
Yes.
So that for me is a whole other story of being able to say no. But there were just so many points in your book that had me thinking, Carol Bush, you need to stop the delays.
Yes.
Go talk to someone
Yeah.
individually
Yeah.
about counseling, because you
Yeah.
have because like you, not you,
I know.
but you, me,
Yeah.
has a lot to unpack that
Yeah.
I acknowledge in writing, I acknowledge verbally and in my head, but now I need to take the action.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to what I said about the second takeaway being it's never too late.
Yes, you're right. It's never too
never
late,
too
and I
late
still need to follow
to
through
do.
on that.
Yeah.
I have really, really enjoyed our conversation so much.
Same
You
here.
had me emotional, and that was not part of the plan. That was not in the questions, y'all. There was no question saying, what time does Carol get emotional?
No.
That was not on the questions.
No, it wasn't. No,
but
it wasn't.
what is your last takeaway before we find out how to contact you as a speaker, a coach, and an author?
The two takeaways I had mentioned earlier was one, to make sure we embrace our unfinished pasts. And the second being, it's never too late. You're never too old to do it.
Oh,
Thank you.
now, how can people find you? Because you are a busy woman who is on the go.
Yes.
So give us your Instagram, your website, how people can find the book, and all that.
Well, the book is actually in any bookstore, but it's readily available on Amazon. On Facebook, you can find me there as Kemi Speaks. Instagram, you can find me as the handle is Kemi Speaks Official.
Okay.
And the website is www.kemispeaks.com.
And I will link all of those that the people can just click, and they can go to Amazon, they can go to your website, and where's the book?
Right here.
I couldn't see because of your hand. And so again, it's crooked. I'll definitely make sure that I link the Amazon page for the book. And so y'all, there is also a space after each chapter that you can have a reflection on what you have learned or gained. And so I really do like how at the end of each chapter you do have a place that the reader can reflect on that chapter. That was really, really important. That way we're not just reading, but we're also taking action and acknowledging certain things in writing.
Yes.
So again, I have so enjoyed our conversation, Kemi. I am so grateful that we met in January, or that we met virtually in January, but then met for the first time in person that was March 31st. So I'll call it April. So basically, March 31st to April was the second.
Yes,
it was training. And so you and I had an instant connection virtually, but then meeting you in person was even much, much better in the spring. So I'm looking forward to all of your success as a coach, an author, maybe an author for your next book, maybe down the road.
Yes.
And also as a speaker. And so thank you again for joining. And we have touched on some topics that I know may trigger in terms of trauma or other past experiences. And we have talked about the importance of counseling or therapy. We as Black women acknowledge that in our community, counseling or therapy at times can be seen as taboo. But I'm really, really happy over the last several years that it has become less of a taboo, but it's still considered that way in certain cultures. So as a woman, as a wife, a mother, I do encourage you all to, if you're able to, seek counseling, therapy, a trusted friend who can begin to help you to unpack some of those traumas.
Yes.
And I can guarantee once you do that, you will begin to see small changes. They may not be as fast as what you envision, but the most important thing is to get started.
Yes.
So again, thanks again, Kemi. If you have enjoyed this episode of First and 15th, give us a thumbs up.
Yes.
You can leave a comment, and you can also press that subscribe button. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another guest. Don't forget to also check out past episodes, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.